Now we have really interesting guests because they are from Valencia. They know what's going on here, although the purpose was a different when we set this up. So I will introduce Carmen, and Carmen will introduce all the wonderful colleagues of the Carmen is the president of the Fundación Trilema, but she's not only that. She's a theologian, an educator, and a writer. And last but not least, a teacher by passion. She not only taught in Spain, but also abroad. And there's one thing that is also mentioned here in the biography, and I will read it out loud. It's from Ashoka. Carmen has set out to change the education system in Spain by identifying and empowering leading teachers who can assure the transformation of their schools and their education processes. And this is so much needed. Thank you so much for listening. And we have now the opportunity to listen to them for an hour, so there's no stress.
Okay, thank you very much. I think now, like in a bubble, because what's happening here. We didn't really intend to come today, because for us, we are from Valencia, we work here. We have friends, colleagues that have disappeared. We have more than 300 people have died. 850,000 people have lost houses. I don't know how many of you have come to the floods. We have 50,000 children with no schools since 10 days ago, with no hope that the schools will reopen in a near time. And we are really involved in the situation. In fact, we're just expecting a lorry, so we had to rush. We're expecting a lorry from Madrid with furniture to refurnish some of the schools so we can take in some children. So I feel really strange. I do talks everywhere in more than 40 countries, but today for me it's very hard to actually share our experiences. But really at the same time, I came this morning and I just got you talking about being a warrior. I'm old, I'm 60, so I don't feel very comfortable with moving around. But as in my heart,
young.
Yeah, that's right. I know being a warrior is an attitude, and I think that's it's actually our life. So I created a foundation 26 years ago, and we are very involved in education. We do work with thousands and thousands of teachers in 12 different countries. We have schools, we have a movie producing company, we publish books, we do lots of things to do with innovation, education. We do work in some countries in Africa, we have many projects. But I had a very happy childhood. My family was really loving. I have a wonderful family. I have 4 children and 4 grandchildren. One of them was born 2 days ago in the middle of this. So I'm very fortunate. So really my passion to change is to change other people's lives. Because I know the power of teaching. Because I owe a lot to my teachers. And I owe a lot to my school. And I've seen in many different countries, in many different places, the power of a school. That's what we started. I tried to get some photographs. I didn't have time to get a computer from home or anything, so I just rescued from my mobile some photographs from yesterday. We want the schools to open as soon as possible. Because we know that for many children, the school is the only chance they have to go back to normal life. And for women especially, if the schools are closed, and we saw that in the last few days, they can do nothing. And our life is committed to that change. So as it's a very special public, I like to use one of the things I do with teachers, okay? So I want to ask you not to imagine, not to envision a white zebra with pink, Barbie pink stripes. Yeah? Don't think about a white zebra with pink stripes. Huh? What do you think in your mind drawn at this moment? The zebra. Yeah? Because minds work through imagination. And imagination works with stories, narration. So I always say that educate is create stories, images, zebras in the minds of the children. And those stories help us to understand ourselves, give us identity. So for me, education needs to create happy stories. And schools can be safe places, as many of you have described, for many children to reconstruct themselves. So I'm going to tell you 2 or 3 small stories before introducing my colleagues, because we want to have a chat as well, have a bit of time so we get questions or whatever. Even tourist questions. If you want, what do you want to do tonight, where to have dinner, all that sort of thing. I need to try to. So my first story is, I am a teacher. I always say that. I was teaching my dolls when I was tiny. I was teaching all the time. I was teaching my sisters and brother, put them there and teach them. I've been a teacher. My mother was a teacher. My grandfather was a teacher. So my husband is a teacher. My children are teachers. Because I discovered that a teacher has a magical power. You can actually change the conscience, the life of a child. And I always say that a teacher can change your life forever. A school can change a community forever. I've seen it in Africa, I've seen it in Guinea. We've been working there for 14 years. Today, some of my colleagues of my team are flying at this very moment to Guinea, where we have a big project. And we've been working with the schools all over the country. A school community, when we open a small school, in 6 months we go back. Life has changed. But if you want to change the country, you have to change education. So that's what we are involved. I'm involved in a very political lobbying to make things happen institutionally. So we grant, we want to guarantee the rights of children to excellence, not just to education, not just to school. I think and believe that every child in the planet has the right to excellence in education. It's out of him or her the best. And that's what we have committed our lives. So my first image is that kid teaching the dolls how to read. And my mom teaching us in the dining room. And I've always seen myself listening. One of you was saying this morning, going back to our okay, going back to your childhood. So the second image is I was a teacher, married, had my children. I was teaching in different places, and one day, I was teaching in a youth prison for youngsters, and I had a student, Ricardo, that had been in prison for since he was 11. He was 17 and a half at the time. And he was 18 in the middle of the school year. So he was leaving the school because they had compulsory to stay here just until that time. So I said to him, okay, you're leaving in February, what are you doing? He said to me, Miss, I'm going back to Cantabria, to the north of Spain, where I'm from. And he said really sadly, but in a month's time, I'll be back in prison. I said, why do you say that? You've been in prison for 7 years. You're going free. He said, Miss, the world you describe in your lessons doesn't exist. I'm going to go back, the same friends there, no family, no support. My life will go back to be what was before I got in. And I have that frustration, I have many stories of success in teaching. Many youngsters and children that come to us saying, thanks, Miss, for what we lived. But I remember this particular story because it was the story of a failure. Not just a personal failure as a teacher, but a failure of a system that couldn't guarantee a boy a life to go back to and change with enough resilience and support to have a different life. So I decided to leave my job. I had a secure job in a government post, and I created Trilema. Trilema, yeah. Passion, commitment, and wisdom. Logos, ethos, pathos. I'm a theologian, so it's my Greek background. So we created this, we were teachers at the beginning. We started growing, now we are nearly 400 people. Most of us are teachers. Well, most of us, Sarah, Carmen in minutes, is not a teacher. And we started changing schools, working with teachers, traveling around, and we've created a way to transform a school from mediocrity to excellence. And that's what we do. That's our main job. And my third image, before I go to the panel, is in Africa. I always say, I was talking to the lady from Kenya. Yeah. Okay, when you were talking, okay. I always say Africa changed my life. The first time I went there, and since then I've been many times. But recently, we filmed a film. We've done a film, you can watch it in YouTube, it's in English as well. And it's called Prophets, Teachers, and the Good Education. And we filmed in Cameroon, in the middle of the forest, in Bafia. We filmed for a few weeks the story of an old lady, Mama Janet, who was a retired teacher. And in Cameroon, as in many places in Africa, kids have to pay to go to school. School is not free. They pay very little for us, but still they have to pay. And one of the images one of the silhouettes in my mind is children sitting down at the door of the schools with empty school bags for hours and hours, for days and days, until their families would pick up the few francs that they needed to pay the registration of the school. Days and days. So this Mama Janet had 11 grandchildren. The youngest one hadn't made it yet. So they have something there, it's called the Jangi. The Jangi is a tradition in Cameroon and in other places in Africa, where all the women, okay, they say that with a few coins, you cannot do much. But if all the women give all the coins to one of them, that one can accomplish their dream. So it's called the Jangi. So during a month, all the women put together the coins, give the Jangi to one woman. So we film how the Jangi at that particular time was for Mama Janet, so Mama Janet could pay because they spend in settees. For some reason in Cameroon, everybody has nothing except a huge settee where they sit down, these sofas. I don't know how to say settee in English. Yeah. Okay, it's incredible. They have mobile phone and a settee, and they don't have anything else. But I've seen that in the forest. So this Jangi was for that time. So we filmed that. It was called the Jangi, the group of women, all dressed up in the same pattern clothes. You can see the film, it's really beautiful. It's called El Club de las Chicas Listas, that's a translation, in the middle of the club of clever girls. So 120 women gave the Jangi to these women. And I always say, on our own, we cannot do much. We don't have a few coins. When something like this, I don't know how to put the pictures and I haven't done on our own, we cannot do anything. But together, we can change the world. And so for me in Trilema, one of the main things is the team. I've done many things in my life. I've written more than 200 books. I mean, we publish a lot of things. I've traveled, I've made films, I've done nearly everything. But I'm so proud. The thing I'm most proud of is the team we have. And it's the team of the foundation which is able now to do so many things. I mean, so many places, and now expands in 12 countries in Latin America, and we have schools there, and it's so moving to see how the movement that we created is really changing the life of thousands of children. And you don't realize in everyday life how strong you are until something like this comes. And then you realize, and that's my last image. My husband, we've been married for 38 years, I think. Yeah, we hate each other sometimes, but you know, it's too late to change. And he had a really bad accident years and years ago. We lived in Valencia at that time, then we went and lived in England for many years, but we lived in Valencia at that time. He fell over a roof and broke his head in 5 different places. He was in a coma for a long time. He fell from the roof into a close in the building. It was all closed. It was August, nobody here. And the door had a big change, and it was a really thick wooden door. And that day in August, lunchtime, really hot. Valencia is terrible in August. And I broke the door with my legs. I mean, I'm not a very strong person. How on earth could I break that door that time? Because you're not conscious of how strong you are. And in a situation, life puts you in front of something that you have to be better than yourself. And today, in Valencia, we are in this situation. Things are terrible, and images are devastating. I've been putting some of them, not the worst ones, but I've put the elderly yesterday. Some came and cuddled me crying. People just cuddle and cry. And you ask their heads, what do you need? And they just cry, and they say everything. And it's so hard. But then there is a strength that we didn't know was there. Thousands of youngsters are walking kilometers to go and help. Today they had to cut the roads because so many youngsters and people, everybody, thousands of them are walking to the villages to help. All those youngsters that are always in the screens, in the social networks, and they're horrible, and they smoke drugs, and they are terrible, and they're lazy, and they hate schools, and they don't study, and they don't work. All those people are there. And that is the strength that a society doesn't realize it has until something like this comes. So that's what I wanted to share today. And I'm saying it's not a personal thing. Obviously, leadership is important, but you need a team. You need the team that makes that strength capable to change the world. And women have that, because we had to struggle so much in life. And your stories are all amazing and moving. I mean, I couldn't be here all the time. We have this lorry arriving in a minute, but that strength can really change things. An example are my 3 colleagues here. I'm not going to put the curriculum. I'm going to let each of you tell your zebra, your story. Because I've been so bad, we haven't prepared this very much. So, Sarah works, we have in the foundation, a lot of people working in education, but we have as well people working in health. We work with about 60 hospitals. We do work a lot on care and self-care of patients with chronic illnesses. We have protocols, we're working now in Dubai and other countries. So Sarah works in the medical side. She is from Iran.
Yeah.
And I invited her mainly because she speaks English, and that wasn't very easy. But because her story I think is very powerful, and she can share some of that. So Soles, Ana, who's in the program, Ana Farret, she's the founder of a movement called Mujeres Líderes por la Educación, women leaders in education, and she could make it, and Sonsoles belongs to the movement. She was a teacher, but she jumped into the business, educational businesses. And it's a good example of how private and state can actually collaborate when you want to teach things. When we designed this, we didn't think what was happening, so we thought the conversation was going to be a little more formal. So, but I'll let you have your story. And Rebecca is a teacher. She's been a teacher in England for many years. She came back to Spain. She's a mom as well. She's in a school, in one of the Trilema schools. We have schools that are about to close, okay? So they give them free. Because I used to say in my speeches, in my conferences, I used to say my dream is to have my own school, but I'll never have money to buy a school. So one night in Barcelona, I was in the airport, 11 o'clock at night, and the phone went, and a nun called me and said, Carmen, you don't know me, but you always say you want a school, and we are about to close one. Do you want it? And I said, yes. I said, do you want to go and see it first? I said, no, I don't care. Just, I have the school wherever it is. So that was the first one of 9 schools. Now we've reconverted and we get lots of offers. If you want a school, ask me. I'm working. For many reasons now it's a critical situation for many schools, especially in the north of Spain. So we have our own schools. We've created this model, and Becky and Rebecca join us and see we tell her story as a teacher. So I think there's some time, or maybe we have questions, or we improvise some questions. Try.
It's not just so interesting like Carmen is. Okay, my name is Sarah. I'm from Iran. Now I work at Trilema, but my journey began, of course, in Iran, in Tehran. I studied biology, and really early on I understood that my journey is not going to finish in Iran. I'm sure about it. I want to learn more, see world, and as you know, in Iran, women, or in many countries in Middle East, unfortunately, women are like the second-level citizens. And learning for women there, it's not just you're so privileged and be a boy and you can choose where to study, where to go, where to live. You have to just live in lifelong learning. That was the philosophy of Trilema. That were exactly the moment I said, blink, maybe I want to come here and know about more Trilema, but I just fast forward my story. It's the end of my story that I began in Trilema. Now I'm working here. But I came to Spain. I studied my master in biotechnology and biomedicine and human reproduction science. I earned my PhD. I immersed myself like crazy as a science and research. I was in lab just hours, injecting sperm oocyte, developing embryons. And I was really happy because it was like my whole destination that I was thinking when I was a child. I loved work with microscope and everything. But I wasn't a cave lab person just injecting sperm to oocyte. It was fun. It was like miracle that you make babies in that. But honestly, I was bored to be a scientist. And I don't know, I want something more. And I knew Trilema, I discovered them, and something just felt good that being a woman, being a fighter, love education, lifelong learning, I said, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. And it was my best decision ever, because I met so wonderful people there. I'm so happy what I'm doing. I'm not like in education, but kind of yes, because we are doing education more in healthcare and patients and self-care, and there is lots of to give, because with all these, I don't know, pandemic that we lived, or just flood that we're experiencing, I think we need a more sustainable healthcare that we have. For example, imagine we all live COVID like it was 10 years ago, but it was 3-4 years ago, and it's just so in past. But imagine that COVID changed a lot in our life, and that was the start, the digital health and active self-care that I think born, and we have lots of things to learn about this way, because we are just opening the world of digital health and all the application stuff about. It's not application, it's not just about, okay, LinkedIn and Instagram, so fun, but you can save even life from them, and that's what we're doing. Because imagine if you're living in a village, if there's some pandemic like COVID before we had, the connection between a little old person that live in a village that don't have anything to get to his doctor or what his need, or maybe with a like medical simple device you can save his or she's life. For me it was amazing, and I'm so happy that I leave all the embryos and spermatozoa and oocyte behind, and I'm like present in the field, feel so much alive. I know sometimes people ask me, okay, you had PhD in biotechnology, you have a PhD in reproduction science, and you're working as a project manager. They say, of course, it's worth it. It's worth it a lot, because that's what I want now. And I just feel so much. Also, Monique, when she was talking about be confident enough, because first I wasn't like that. It would cost me so many years to be here, because you come from a country that's totally different. You never have the value, you never cherished before. I had the chance to have a really open family, but in the country, but you're always like, okay, you shut up, you sit down, the boy here have to talk. You need, I don't know, it's more than ambitious. You need the courage to just decide what you want to do. And I'm kind of proud of myself. I don't know how to put it in words, but I'm happy here. I'm happy here with you, sharing this moment with all of you. It's a big honor to hear all of your stories. I'm in love with all the beautiful ladies and this gentleman. And thank you for hearing my story. And now I don't want to just start to talk about science and health and issues, because the problem that we are living now in Valencia is much more than of one story. Just are devastating. Carmen, I think she couldn't even see her new grandson yet after 4 days, and you can imagine what she's going through. And I'm so proud of you, and I'm so thankful to be born.
Right, hello. I'm going to stand up because only 7% of what we say are words. So I'm a teacher. I have to say that when I was first invited to this and I read about entrepreneurship, leadership, I started to read all your titles: project manager, author, president, and co-founder. I thought, what am I going to say? I'm a teacher, and I'm just a teacher. And then I thought, I'm a teacher. So. I won't tell my story of why I'm a teacher, because we've heard lots of stories. But I would like to say that today, listening to some of your stories and throughout my young life, of all these stories that I've been hearing, And the amount of times we hear people say, I dropped out of school, but I was successful. I didn't make it to high school, but I was successful. I became this, and I didn't go to school, and I was successful. And we always get really happy about it. But I have to say that as a teacher, for me, that's a failure. Hearing all these stories of people who are proud of making it somewhere, despite not having made it to school. So our foundation, our school, my career has been and is and continues to be about changing this. Why are all these kids, or why were all these people dropping out of school, not making it to school, failing in school, and yet afterwards succeeding? Something's not working. We have spent lots of years learning from other systems. I'm from Spain. I was a failure at school, but I didn't fail because of the family I had. I was one of those lucky children who has an amazing family who supported me and helped me, and that's why I was successful in school. If I didn't have that family, I would have been one of those kids who would have probably dropped out of school, who wouldn't have done A-levels, baccalaureate, university, and all the other studies that I continued. I did all that because of my family, but our children are not as lucky as I have been. And that is our focus, that is what we work. We try different things. I work in a very small school, in one of the towns that has actually been affected. Not massively, but we do have students who have lost their houses, and it's a very small area. And one of our goals in the foundation is to make sure they want to come to school, to make sure everybody finds their path. So I came here to talk a little bit about what we do in our school, so how we learn. If you read about it, we try to get every kid to find something that they want to do. We have the curriculum and we have the strict, but we want all of them to find something to do. We don't want that kid who drops out of high school because he's not too good. We try to find the best in every kid. Sometimes I have students who I'm an English teacher, besides coordinating the secondary teachers and helping my team, I also teach English. And the amount of students who say, I'm just not good at English, I'm stupid. The amount of times they tell me the word stupid. And why, someone might be good at languages or might like languages and invest their time in languages. And that's why they're good, not because they're better or worse. Others are artists, others are musicians, others are scientists. The amount of, I could continue, but what we are trying to do in our schools is to show to our students, show to our community that we all have different paths. We all have different shoes to go through these paths, but we definitely all need to find a path. Someone was saying about finding your path, sometimes finding it and sometimes creating it. I think she's left, but sometimes we find the path or other times we create it. And that was what we're coming to talk about today, how we are empowering, even though I know leader is as in a company, I know an entrepreneur, I haven't started my own company. I do try to lead and get all of my students to find that courage or to find that autonomy. We get them to decide what they want to do, where they want to go, and hopefully help our community, our country and our world to bring more people, and especially women, who are entrepreneurs and leaders. So thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure I can speak English as well as they do. So I have to adapt. If I tell you all the things they want to do to tell you, I have to speak Spanish. Is a problem for you? I can speak Spanish and you translate for me.
Yes, por favor. Sí. Okay.
Sí, es que si no es imposible. Vale. Entonces, bueno, yo me llamo Sonsoles.
We've been talking all this time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yo me llamo Sonsoles y empecé mi trabajo como profesora de literatura.
Sorry, I can speak English. I started my job.
You want the
when
microphone?
when
We
I
can hear you.
when I finished the university, I went to ask for a job, and I found work as a teacher. So I became a linguistics and literature teacher. I love my work. I love reading. I love educate also in these things. But when I was some years working as a teacher, I realized that there were a lot of teachers working very hard, and nobody see that work. It's not visible to the people. And I started to think about it, because I also wanted, when I was at university, to found my own company. And as I worked like it as a teacher, I thought that it would be very good if I create a book publish company. So I did it. I don't know how, because it was an adventure and a lot of risk. See? But I did it. I started and I thought, okay, this area, the publish all the educational books, is ¿cómo se dice? Saturada.
Saturated.
So what can I do? And I started to observe, and that there were many gifted children without attention, and there was a lack of means for these people. So I visited some teachers, experts in gifted for studies for brilliant people, and I decided to make my book publisher company con el objetivo, with the objective of innovation and also for create talent. Okay. So I started alone, very difficult, but I realized that when you are learning at your school when you are young, you don't know, but you are creating a lot of competences and a lot of things that when llega la ocasión,
When the occasion appears and rights.
well, they come. It's the same that said Carmen. We have strength inside, and where there is the need of these things, you have that strength. Because I didn't have any information for a student leader of a company, but I started to learn. I talked with many people, and I really worked hard, and it was possible. Now this editorial, the name is Editorial Brief, and I put that name because I wanted to be a link between school and society. All the work in school from teachers that work very hard, give them visibility to the society, and that's what I do. Is it clear?
Right, now you can ask questions openly, or I ask questions. So is any question anybody wants to share? Yeah.
What do you do to help your students choose careers? Since that was an area that I was in long ago, and so I was curious as to what kind of services there are to help people choose what they want to do.
I can talk from our school. So one of the things that I think we also emphasize a lot in nowadays, that at least when I was studying wasn't there, is all the social emotional part of education. So from a very young age, we're already working on students deciding or discovering, right, who they are, what they want, what they think, And we kind of build that. We also have a very strong orientation team, it would be, right? With different people and experts who are actually, before it was like one person and in the school, but now we bring these people inside the classroom. They get to know all of the students, they work with them, and we start up from a very, very early age. We do a lot of project work in the community as well. We get them to go outside, experience things, get them to see, so that they're not just deciding according to the books and what they're studying. The world is, we take them to universities, to schools, to home cares, to even to clean beaches. We've taken them out to see different, so they kind of experience little by little. And then we also have the psychologists, the psychopedagogist, and all these just experts in this area who are inside the classroom with the kids, get to know them and kind of orientate them, right?
I like to add that Spain is still very choke and talk. You say that in English, yeah, choke and talk. So it's a very traditional educational system still in many places. So we decided a very systemic model. We call it Rubik LQ. I always explain that when you want to sort out Rubik, you tend to do one color, red. So you do red, and then if you want to do green, red, it's messy. And then if you have red and green, and then you want yellow, then you have to move the whole thing. So to resolve Rubik, you have to move all the 6 colors at the same time. So our model is based in that. You need to move in a school 6 big elements that are essential. One is curriculum, what is essential for a child to learn in every age. So we live the systems in many countries. So we have we have our own curriculum together with the national curriculum of the country we work with. That changes the methodology how you teach. Learning and teaching, we do a lot of thinking. We have subjects based on thinking skills and contemplation, artistic. I mean, we have a very big skills curriculum time allocated in schools, and we change the way we assess children. We don't measure children, we accompany children to their best. So it's a very big change of culture in assessment. The 4th element is personalized learning. So like saying every child has a dress made for himself or herself. So we get lots of examples. Becky, for example, in her classes, you get a route every 2 weeks, and each child does the route how they like. They go to stations, they spend the time they want, they choose the challenge they want to confront. So we work a lot on autonomy and customize the system to every child. That means changing the way we organize, timetables, resources. We do work in Cameroon in the schools that don't have electricity or water, and we work in Bogota in private schools which have everything we dream of. So we do work in very different environments, but you need to be very realistic in using the resources and the possibilities that you have. Not the ones you dream of, but the ones you have today. And then the last thing is leadership. So we are very strong in training all sorts of leaders. And I always say that leadership is like the savia de la planta, the
Monitoring.
yeah, the it's not the savia in the plant. Of a plant that has to empower all the community. So we do work a lot on training teachers, professional development, and all sorts of experiences like Becky was describing, co-teaching. We break many rules. So when you get in the school and you change the school, what you are asking is the culture that the child lives from early age. Because, I think we were wrong in basing orientation in how you choose your career. Orientation is how you choose who you are. Mm-hmm. And then it doesn't really matter very much what would you do. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you can change. I changed completely my life and my career when I was 14. I was a teacher in a school. So left everything when I was 14 and I started from zero. And I'm a theologian. I used to study Hebrew, Greek, Latin, and now I do Excel and financing, and I have to sort out human resources, and all I know is St. Thomas in Latin because that's what I was trained on. So you can really change your life, like I think most of you here after.
I always think the best question is not, what do you want to be when you grow up? But more, who? And what do you think would be fun to try next? Because it's more liberating. Because I think people they're so free to making their own decision. And
so you have to work on expectations of children, because most of them come very damaged. Because the schools we have, and because they were about to close, most of them have very vulnerable children in our schools. In Soria, we have a school, a big school, with now I think it's 37 nationalities. Lots of them are illegal immigrants. I mean, there are kids who live in very hard environments. So you really need to work on the expectations of themselves.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
More questions?
No, I was just going to answer Rebecca's question. Rebecca, when you say some of us that we didn't finish school, I left at 16, it's not that we said we didn't want to do education, because like with me, I left school with my favorite teacher left.
Exactly. I think the problem is from the school. Yeah, don't get me wrong, sorry.
Okay.
I mean, it's a school failure. It's another person's failure.
No, the point is that sometimes education comes in different ways. Like I trained as a qualified parental counselor. If you really want to succeed in life, even if you leave school, in my language, a teacher is a guru. It's the highest respect that you can give a human being. A teacher is treated like a guru. And this is where a teacher can form and educate a child to achieve the best. I mean, I have 4 grandchildren, they're wonderful teachers, and they love their teachers. They get more friends than I do. And my teacher is very good, this teacher, and so you have a very important job, and I don't know what's applied in Spain, but in England, teachers are not given the respect that they were in the past, which to some of us parents, that's why the parents put their children into private education. Right? Because, and if you are on the old traditions, I think that's the way to work, because children will follow, and they need to be taught in a certain way. So, I mean, my hat's off to you. But the second question I wanted to ask him is because of, like you said, the schools that can destroy it. You need something. What can you tell us that we, because we are from different countries, what can we do to help? And how can we help? Is there a fundraiser that you have on the website that you'd like us to go back and share with our network? Because education, if children miss that in any country, whether it's through war or, natural, they need that kind of stable, not for them, just for themselves, but for their parents. Yeah, so if you tell us how you want to say something about the first question?
No, the question, as in the respect.
Yeah.
I think,
You've been in England.
yes, I taught in London for some time near Hounslow, Wembley.
Why didn't you?
I think the mistake is, I would say, I tell my colleagues as well, we adapt very quickly to technology, transport, TV, but it's so hard to adapt to education. Why did we accept that we can text someone instead of sending a letter, but we can't accept that we have to change the way we teach, which is something that is hard, at least in Spain and in London as well, in England as well. I think the problem is we want to teach, or we think we have to teach them the same way they were taught 40, 50 years ago, and the needs have changed a lot. We see it, at least in Spain as well, we see it in the news everywhere, everything about how students feel emotionally, and how before no one cared. Like, it was like, I say this or they're sent out. I remember in my school there was a room called in the isolation room, where kids were sent there for a whole day, instead of trying to understand why. There's still a lot to do, but I think we just have to also change the way we think of respect. doing the hard sector.
Question, that's fine. No, it's like, I suppose with me, they come to us and they say, well, sometimes the parents take the side of the child, even if the child is wrong. All right.
Right.
Instead of admitting, like in my generation, the first thing, if my daughter did something wrong, I would say, what did you do wrong? All right.
Yes.
But nowadays, sometimes the parents say, oh no, my child can't do anything. And that's creating it. And we try to explain, I mean, I've been a governor for 2 of the schools there as well. And we try to explain to the parents, look, it's not always the teacher at fault. You have to find out what your child did. Because he could have been hitting another child, so the teacher had to step in.
Yes.
So this is where I think sometimes maybe more school governance are needed, more parent teacher.
I think it's also about involving the school and the community.
Yes.
It's something that we didn't do before. Before it was a school, and what we have to do is join the community, the school and the house working together, not as separate things, which is what has led to this as well.
You see, that's what we're trying to do in the UK, because that kind of element went away for a while, and we're now realizing that's where the problems are.
Parents don't change. Sometimes for worse. Okay. No. And we feel as the schools a lot of pressure from the society that we have to solve everything.
Right.
And many problems are not our fault. We cannot solve them. And one of them is families. They cannot choose the family they have. I'm going to say it. I always say it, a child doesn't choose the family, the hasn't chosen the race, the color, the language, the religion. A child doesn't choose, but the school can make him or her to choose their destiny, and that's our work. And the second thing is, we don't choose teachers. It's not like England. In Spain, you don't choose the teachers, and you cannot sack a teacher unless he kills a child. And even then, they change him to another school. So you have to work with what you have. And we have to overcome the idea of a superhero figure of the individual teachers. I do work with Barker's Foundation quite a lot, quite closely, recently. I'm very critical of this idea of the super teacher, because nowadays I don't think you need an individualistic, brilliant hero. You need a team. And you need to make the school a team, because teachers get very tired, overwhelmed. You go through times in your life where you don't have the same strength, so you need to create a team that actually covers and helps and supports each other. And that is essential nowadays if you want to change the school, because we do design a way, we just starting a big project in Argentina with the schools, or in Peru. I've just arrived from Peru. We have 20 schools there, and in 1 year, it's amazing. And the minister was telling me, how did you do that? I mean, who did you appoint? And I said, no, we haven't sacked anybody, we haven't appointed anybody. We work with the teachers that are here, because most of them are a gold mine. It's just they don't know. And they need to be reinforced. And that is because, we have to overcome this idea of the media, of the super media, of this teacher that is, I'm very skeptical about that. So, we're very humble, but we always say in the foundation we're better together than alone. So that's what makes us.